As Barack Obama begins his second term in office, a new survey reveals trust in the federal government remains near a historic low. And for the first time in many years, a majority of Americans see the government as a major threat to their personal freedoms. Some have been citing surveillance policies and enhanced government control on security grounds as the major problems. After all, Benjamin Franklin had once predicted a society that gives up liberty for the sake of security will deserve neither and lose both. This is The Debate.
The latest national survey by the Pew Research Center for the People shows 53% of Americans think that the federal government threatens their rights and freedoms. According to the opinion poll, 68% of respondents expressed an unfavorable view of Congress, with most respondents seeing members of Congress as the problem. The survey also shows only 3 in 10 Americans trust the government in Washington to do the right thing always, or most of the time. But what has caused Americans to lose trust in their government? Some analysts blame Washington's surveillance policies as well as widespread rights violations for this lack of confidence.
The government is able to eavesdrop on emails and telephones and really surveil citizens without warrants or reasons. So the United States has become really, in a sense, a lawless country in terms of treating its citizens without respect for their privacy.
The US-led wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are also seen as important reasons for popular discontent with the government. Meanwhile, a new study shows suicide rates among war veterans are escalating. According to a study by the Department of Veterans Affairs, an average 22 veterans commit suicide every day. The veterans include those returning from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. More than 6,600 Americans have been killed in the unpopular wars, which have cost American taxpayers nearly $1.5 billion. This as national debt stands at nearly $16.5 trillion. Analysts have a gloomy outlook on the economic future of the U.S., with more than 22 million Americans reportedly jobless, and the fiscal cliff and the recession still threatening the country.
You are watching The Debate. Let me introduce our guest to you in New York with the International Action Center, Sarah Flounders. Also with us from Washington, columnist with The Hill, Mr. Brent Brodowski, and with us from Florida, former American intelligence linguist, Mr. Scott Rickard. Thank you very much, everyone, for being on this edition of The Debate. My first question to our guest in New York, Sarah Flounders. It's the first time, Ms. Flounders, that a majority of Americans has agreed that they view the government as a major threat to their personal freedoms since, we're hearing, the Pew Research Center began polling on this question back in 1995. Why do you think we're seeing this?
Well, I think there's a growing recognition that the U.S. government at every level is able to do less and less for the people, is involved in more and more cuts to every social program. And along with that, every social program, school, library, hospital is being privatized in order to maximize profit. So that combination of cutbacks and also endless war, growing repression. You know, the U.S. today has the largest prison population in the world, really almost 10 times the size of most other countries, to 2.3 million people in prison, 7 million if you count probation, parole, immigrants facing deportation, youthful offenders. The level of repression in the U.S. today is growing. We see this in the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act, which really does away with so many civil rights and civil liberties. So these attacks from every level, both political attacks and the economic onslaught of an economy that's no longer able to provide the jobs and services that it once did. I mean, this is really an empire in decline and serious decay. And the only question is how to maximize profit for the banks, for the oil corporations, for the military industries, and how to literally rob it, pull it from working people. And that has an impact. And there's also, combined with that, is the understanding that Congress overwhelmingly is an extension of the lobbying industry. Salutes the lobbying industry.
Yeah, you refer there to the Congress, Ms. Flounders.
Who really pays the ticket, who's gotten them into office, and who they're answerable to. And it's not the average working person in the U.S. It's major pharmaceutical industries, it's big corporate power at every level.
Yeah,
that is who
Ms. Flounders,
has
I'll
a
stop you there if I may.
voice. So it creates a...
Yeah, I'll stop you there if I may. Sorry, let's just bring in Mr. Budowski and we'll come back. We're hearing also, according to the Pew Research group, Mr. Budowski, that lawmakers, rather than the political system, are the problem with Congress. So people there saying that they've got maybe a trust problem, they've got a problem with those who are implementing the policies. Now, why do you think we're seeing that? And do you agree that the people, not the system, is the problem?
Well, I think it's the bad system that brings the wrong people. I think it's both of them. I wrote a column yesterday in the Hill newspaper that's up on the homepage right now at thehill.com, where I suggested America needs a constitutional amendment to take the corrupted money out of politics and to prohibit basically the rich from buying elections by spending unlimited amounts of money. I think that is the most corrupting problem that corrupts all other problems. Now, I would say it's not correct to indict the entire United States. We do many things that are good. Democrats are far from perfect, but I believe they're better than Republicans. Now, I've worked for the highest level people in the government, in the Congress, and I've dealt with the White House for a long time under different presidents. And if you ask me, if the Pew people had asked me, I would say I don't trust Washington to do the right thing. I'd be in that big number that doesn't trust Washington. So I think the problem fundamentally is, the problem that leads to other problems is the corruption of money that we have to eliminate. We have to eliminate the corruption. We have to eliminate the money that buys the system. In the same way, we have to eliminate the machine gun kind of weapons that are killing our children, which the money is protecting by their lobbying.
Yeah, well, Mr. Budowski, thank you for that. Before I put the next question to our guest, Scott Rickard, let's just take a look at one of the comments that's been put up on our Facebook page by one of our viewers on this debate's, of course, topic, which is the results of the Pew Research Centre. We're going to take a look at it now. Now, the question that we put up on our Facebook page today was that the majority of Americans, according to the Pew Research Centre, are saying the federal government threatens their personal rights. Are Americans' personal rights under threat, and why? One of our viewers there, Maggie Dave, saying today's politicians don't belong to America as they seek everyone's interest except their own nation, which is Americans. Now, Scott Rickard, let's have your reaction on this. A lot has been said, of course, about, we just saw our guest there talking about corporate America, how basically the interest of corporations is being considered rather the interests of the people. What's your view? We're seeing these comments and similar comments a lot on our comment page today.
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. I think what you're looking at is the banks have really controlled the nation alongside the petroleum industry for at least a century in this country. You have easily $85 billion a month going into the banks under Quantitative Easing III and Quantitative Easing IV. I mean, that is highway robbery. We are bailing out a failed system that controls our politicians. And no matter what you do, I mean, saying that they're not going to be able to give them money, that's not going to fix the problem. These are criminal banks that have operated criminally in this country, especially over the last 30 years. And then they also have gotten alongside of a lot of international interests that are not in the best interest of the United States. And in fact, it violates the Constitution of the United States when you take interests of other countries and put them over the top of American interests. So violating that sovereignty is exactly what's going on with the special interest groups. And those special interest groups are very well tied into the oil and the banking business. The oil business alone is a $2 to $3 trillion business a year. And the banking business is obviously got everybody tied up. I mean, Goldman Sachs has won the election in this country for over 100 years. They've been around since 1827. And since 1827, they've been involved in finance, and they're half owned by the Rothschild Group. And so you have foreign interests that are running over $150 trillion in commercial debt, not just the 16 trillion of national debt, in and out of the Federal Reserve. And they are controlling the money because they control the media and they control the minds of the people.
Well, one other issue that's been raised now when it comes to personal freedoms, I'd like to put this question to Sarah Flounders now. Section 1021 of the National Defence Authorization Act, which gives the President the power to imprison people without a fair trial, habeas corpus or due process. Now this, people are saying, violates the 6th and 5th Amendments of the Constitution and gives the President power to detain anyone on grounds of terrorism. So basically, why do you think we saw President Obama, despite the fact that he had raised concerns about parts of that issue, sign it into law, and how that has affected people's views?
Well, it's obviously had a very profound impact among those who know that this law is even on the books, who even know about the NDAA. But it's so important that it is part of a defense authorization bill, because repression at home goes hand in hand with an ever-expanding military machine. And the very policies that are implemented around the world in secret prisons, in the U.S. asserting the right to invade and occupy other countries, to establish military bases around the world, to fire drone attacks on any country, to assassinate anyone they they declare a threat, even if they know nothing about the person or the town or the village that is being attacked. All of that comes home. And so this clause in the Defense Authorization Act, which gives to the President the power that's completely unconstitutional, it means that what happens internationally gets reflected domestically. And the prison system domestically is what is carried abroad in attacks on people around the world. All of this is a problem that is deeply rooted in the system itself, which exists to maximize profit for a very small handful of people. Right. Well, and that is what really has to be, and is increasingly, people are waking up to this, as the Pew poll really confirms that there is a growing apprehension.
A lot of people have been saying that after 9/11, this repression on people's and restrictions on people's rights basically started and has got worse and worse. Now, in Washington, Brent Budowski, let's put this question to you. A lot of people have been saying that while the United States is trying to, it says, root out terrorism, at the same time, it's only doing this in the rather for the sake of national security. We have one comment right now on our Facebook page saying that terrorism, I'm reading this, Samantha McLean has written this for us, terrorism is treated as an exception under U.S. law. Now, how can this work?
Well, what should happen, and I'm going to partially disagree with your other guest in New York who just spoke, if on the issue, say, of drones, there is an ability to target a known terrorist, I don't think there's any problem with doing that. On the other hand, what's happened with the drone policy is it's gotten out of control. It's being done from faraway places on secondary targets and killing too many civilians. If we're going to have an honest and serious discussion, I think we need to draw distinctions. Not all wars are bad, not all wars are good. There are differences. And to make sweeping statements, which I just heard, I don't think it helps. When we're killing civilians in drone attacks that are wrong, they should stop. And I've called for that here. And I've advised privately at very high levels about this. When we're calling for attacks on known terrorists who are clear targets, that is different. The fundamental problem on privacy is there is no privacy. Not in America, not in Europe, not in the Middle East, not in Asia, not in anywhere. The problem is both governments and business have access to all of our private information all the time, everywhere. I believe that is a serious issue. I believe we need international agreements and national laws that will limit the ability to invade our privacy from all governments. The truth is, when we do phone calls or emails or letters, nothing is secret and nothing is private, and we need to change that. We need to deal with that. We need to protect the privacy far more than we are now. But not everything is wrong.
Okay, Scott Rickard, let's have your reaction on that. Mr. Podolsky says there that not all wars are bad, and that when there is a known terrorist, it's okay for that terrorist to be targeted.
Well, obviously, if someone is doing something extremely bad, you need to resolve that problem. Unfortunately, this whole theory on terrorism around the world and global war on terrorism is nothing more than propaganda to further the imperial colonization and exploitation of resources around the world. It is the businesses and the banks that are running it. I mean, the incredible amount of monitoring and surveillance and all of these things that do violate our privacy, that's part of it. I mean, they are trying to protect themselves. There is a massive amount of censorship going on out there. I mean, the amount of requests per month going into Google alone are 25,000 requests a month to get information, and half of the information is being removed that they go after, and it's being removed for executive purposes, not by court order, not by any type of law or justice, but basically by edict. So we are losing not only our privacy, but the Fourth Amendment, the search and seizure, for the same things that Aaron Swartz was being prosecuted for a potential of 35 years. You have the courts going to say that the feds, even last weekend, that it's okay for the feds to snoop through our data. They can snoop all day long, but God forbid that we should go into a college to look at some research papers that the college is going to release anyway. So, I mean, it's not, we are not on a fair playing field with our government. Our government's allowed to have massive amounts of equipment, armored personnel carriers, and we can't even have guns. And then they're responsible for tens of millions of people dying every year from starvation because they're wasting their time on multiple wars that are unnecessary.
Well, I'd like to get Sarah's reaction as well. But before we do that, let's just take a look at another comment that's been put on our Facebook page. Again, the question that we asked there was, are Americans' personal rights under threat? If you think so, tell us why. And we're just going to refer to one of the comments that have been put there by one of our viewers on our Facebook page. Sarah Parley, she says that many in the USA believe that our government is hijacked by Zionists. Now, Sarah Flounders, again, when we speak about the war on terror, a lot of people just taking note from these and similar comments as well. A lot of people are saying that how dependent or how independent actually the government policy on terrorism is.
Well, first of all, on the question of Zionism, really the government in the U.S., you could say, is hijacked by corporate power. And Zionism serves their political interests in the Middle East. And that's important to recognize, that it's in the interests of Wall Street. It's part of a global policy of domination of countries around the world. Now, I also, just to make a point on drone attacks and what's a legitimate target, we should remember at Guantanamo, which supposedly was the highest level security prison outside the U.S., where all these detainees who were known terrorists would be brought. According to the U.S. own estimates, 92% had no connection with al-Qaeda. A 92% failure rate is staggering, and it's about the same with drone attacks. They have no idea who they're firing at most of the time. So we should be highly suspicious about a government with a 92% failure rate when they're declaring a war on terror. And the same drones are used right here in the U.S. again and again in surveillance. So we should be suspicious of this government that more and more exists to maximize profit and to pull it from the population here and also around the world, and is not operating in our interests, and take more confidence in people's movements right here. Think about how to strengthen them, how to build them, because it's the unions that are under attack, the women's movement that's under attack.
Yeah, Sarah, if I could just stop you, if I may, because we are a little short of time.
Looking at the social movements here, that is the best, that's the best strengthener for,
Okay, thank you very much. We are running out of time. Just like to get the concluding remarks by Brent Budowski as well. Now, Mr. Budowski, the remarks made there about drone strikes, the fact that a lot of people are saying even when Osama bin Laden was targeted and killed, that he should have been allowed to go in court and say what he wanted to say, or rather when the United States targeted its own citizen and he was a known terrorist according to them, that was not right because he should, of course, be given the right to come to court. So what do you say about that?
Well, in general, when we have an opportunity to kill a major proven terrorist in a way that does not kill civilians, I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is when we kill many civilians on secondary attacks that should not have been made with drones. Guantanamo should be closed. I've advocated this for a long time, many years. We should not have secret trials. We should not have secret cases. I don't know if the right number is 92% or 50% or whatever, but the law and the facts should be brought before people that can judge it fairly. People that are innocent should be let out. Institutions like Guantanamo should be closed. And the bottom line quickly is that every single person in our audience, wherever they may be, is threatened by some invasion of privacy by some government or some business or some entity. And we need to deal with that and protect privacy everywhere around the world, including the U.S.
Thank you very much. And Scott Rickard, your concluding remarks on this as well.
Well, you know, Osama bin Laden, this stinks to all high hell. I mean, you've got to look at the history of these guys and how they built up. I mean, for almost 10 years, from 84 to 89, actually, were the bases that we built with Osama bin Laden. 7 different bases. And he was commanding forces for us against the Russians. And the fact is that we had him put under house arrest in Saudi Arabia alongside the Saudis, and he got back out. And the reason he got back out is because we turned on him. And this whole, Zero Dark 30 takedown is so dirty. The gentleman that broke the book, basically broke the story, is Nicholas Schmeidel. Now, Nicholas Schmeidel is the son of the deputy commander for the cyber warfare division at NSA. And he was thrown out of Pakistan for basically espionage. And as soon as he came out of espionage, he started to work for a Google think tank. Now, that Google think tank is called New America Foundation. It's a CIA think tank where this guy goes and he writes a story in the New Yorker on August 8th, 2011, saying, "Getting bin Laden." And he's getting all of his information from the Pentagon, and he's writing, and he's the son of the deputy commander for the cyber warfare division at NSA. So this stinks to all high hell to me, and I don't trust my government. I'm right alongside everyone else, and I've got hundreds of stories like this, so there's a lot of fact around it.
Scott Rickard in Florida, former American intelligence linguist, thank you very much for being with us. A big thanks to our guests in Washington as well. Columnist with The Hill, Brent Budowski, and Sarah Flounders with the International Action Center with us from New York. Thank you very much, everyone, for being on this edition of The Debate. We've run out of time. From me, Homa Lesgi. Until our next program, goodbye.